Kazakhstan and Italy are ready to restore the intensity and scope of the bilateral relations to the pre-pandemic level. The Italian peninsula, as Europe's first region severely affected by the coronavirus, can share its experience in fighting the consequences of the pandemic and reviving the economy. Kazakhstan has lifted its COVID-19 related travel restrictions and renewed a visa-free entry for Italian tourists. The first direct flight between Almaty and Milan was tested in July, with a promising prospect of regular flights soon accommodating the travelers of the two countries. The newly appointed Italian ambassador to Kazakhstan, Marco Alberti, joins me today to discuss the bilateral ties between our countries. Mr. Ambassador, welcome. Both Kazakhstan's and Italy's economies have suffered a major blow. Second year into the new normal, where do we stand in terms of our bilateral economic relations?
Thanks a lot for having me today. I think Italy has a very long-standing presence in the country. We have 4 companies working here in a very stable way and 170 joint ventures. Particularly in the oil and gas sector, we are present in the country with ENI and other companies, and I think that this is one of the sectors we have to work on, to recover from the crisis. On the side of the exchange, the commercial exchange, COVID has hit very, very hard, but I think that there are good possibilities for us together to recover. Now, there are just a few countries for which Italy can say to be the 8th supplier and the second largest customer, and Kazakhstan is one of them. And so at the moment, we are exporting machinery, electrical appliance, fashion and so on, and the import from Kazakhstan are very significant, particularly 6.5 billion in 2020. It includes oil, of course, crude oil, but also grains and cereals and other stuff like this. So my idea is that we have a lot of opportunities if we face together 3 challenges. One is to bring back the level of exchange, to the pre-COVID level by 2023. It's hard, but it's possible. And we can do if we act, as Italy, we act systematically instead of individually. And diplomacy is here to help this sort of relaunch of economy and business exchange. One
of the major resets in the economic relations has been the Kazakhstan-Italy Business Forum held in June. Has it played out as a restarting point in our relations? And if so, then what are some of the new and interesting business alliances that we are looking into?
Yes, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. I believe that that forum has been a great success. More than 600 companies involved, and several important institutional authorities joined. So I think it's a good starting point, but a business forum is made of 2 parts. A forum and the business, So the forum has been organized very well, and I'm very grateful to my predecessor for this event. Now it's time for business. And I think that we have to choose the 3 sectors, 4 sectors that I have mentioned, and something is moving. Some signals, positive signals. The agreement between the Italian SDF company and the Kazakh Agromash is a good example of 4.0 smart agricultural tech cooperation. And we relaunched the fashion industry in Central Asia. We organized the first post-COVID fashion event in Almaty at the beginning of October. We are working to consolidate the direct flight Almaty-Milan, which would help very much to connect the countries, to reconnect the country and promote business. And last but not least, I think that another good and interesting step is the opening of the new Italian Cultural Institute in Almaty. And they say it's important in terms of business also, because my idea is to emphasize the concept and the nexus between culture and entrepreneurship. So these are 3-4 steps that we want to emphasize, and we have a lot of initiatives in the pipeline for the 30th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between Italy and Kazakhstan that will fall next year in 2022.
As you've mentioned, next year marks 30 years since the establishment of the diplomatic ties between Kazakhstan and Italy. What, in your view, the biggest achievements are in our diplomatic relations, and what are some of the growth prospects?
I think that, Italy and Kazakhstan are two good partners, We can see it in many different sectors, not only in economic, on the economic side, but also on multilateral side. Italy and Kazakhstan are, working and supporting to one another in the international multilateral candidacies of the two countries. And we are trying, to create a sort of privilege partnership between Italy and Kazakhstan to act on Central Asia. Next month we will have the 1+5 political meeting with our Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the five stands. We consider Kazakhstan as an axis for a new relaunch, for the launch of new politics of Italy towards Central Asia. And I believe that on this side, Italy can be a good trade union between Kazakhstan and the EU. Where, I think that in terms of strategy, Kazakhstan has already approved a very ambitious 2050 Kazakhstan strategy, And I think that the best way to cooperate is to choose some of these areas where Italy can help Kazakhstan to reach out to the ambitious goals that the country has chosen. So what we can offer in the sectors that Kazakhstan needs, And I think that these are most of them I have already mentioned. One is this idea of technology applied to different sectors. When we talk about energy, it's not just a new green generation. We can offer something in terms of smart cities, for instance, in terms of new technology applied to grids and digitalization of grids, and small and medium enterprises. Complementarity. Italy and Kazakhstan are two very complementary countries. You are a big country, we are small size. You are your economy is very centered on the state-owned companies, and we are a country where 95% of the GDP is generated by small and medium enterprises. And you have very intensive energy production. We have very low energy production, and we are very poor in resources. You are very rich in resources. So complementarity is the driving line where we can, realize something very, very effective.
Mr. Ambassador, in your career as a career diplomat working in an actual industry, and you have an extensive experience of working in the energy sector, and you have focused on sustainability but also climate change, and Kazakhstan has set forward ambitious plans in greening its economy, and so it's one of the major challenges for the coming years. How is Italy faring in that front?
And my experience in the private sector as a diplomat clarified that the climate crisis, as any other global challenge that we are facing today, is a public-private challenge. So it's completely impossible to face such global huge challenges without a new model of cooperation between public and private sectors, which does not mean that public needs to act as a private and vice versa. But public sector has a responsibility to framework, the priorities, and to offer a very stable, forward-looking regulatory framework for companies to invest, for companies to be involved, for companies to give a great contribution to the acceleration of the decarbonization. And that's one lesson learned. And the second lesson learned in that, if we want to act effectively, we need to consider green transformation, ecological transformation, and digital transformation together. It's pretty impossible to reach out the results and the targets that we have fixed without, dedicating time, energy, people, skilled people to digitalization. Because the two transformations go hand in hand. And we see it very clearly in a city. If you want to urbanize people, the only possible way is to do it in a sustainable way. And in order to be sustainable, cities need to be very technologically advanced.
Some of the bigger challenges as recovering the economy, but also addressing climate crisis, are going to be a joint effort in which digitization is going to go hand in hand. How do you see Italian experience sort of transferring to Kazakhstan? Where do you see potentially where you could be helpful?
Yeah, thanks. Very good question. We are going to the very core of the double challenges that we are facing. I think Italy in both ecological transformation and digital transformation is quite well positioned, first of all. I mean, 40%, almost 40% of the electricity in Italy is generated by renewable energy. And I mean, we are a top performer in Europe in terms of circular economy, particularly in the recycle of wasting. And I think that we have already dedicated 70 billion euros of the recovery and resilience plan to the ecological transformation. So the premises are very good. What are we doing? First of all, I mean, was dedicating this significant amount of money to the transformation, because it's, you know, I mean, any transformation is costly. So we need to make a choice. And we go back to the first point that I mentioned. I mean, if you want it to be effective, you need to make a choice. And Italy made this choice. Italy is doing something which is interesting for Kazakhstan. We are implementing the 4.0 tech transfer industry centers. We are creating centers to transfer to a technological transfer to some specific industries like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, augmented reality, cloud computing, dedicating some, I mean, resources to this transformation and to make it quickly. And second, Italy is working very intensively on the intersection between traditional sectors and new technologies. So the promotion is not medicine, you know. The future is nanomedicine. It's not agriculture itself, but it's nano food. It's not only, I mean, food or textile, but is a techno-textile. So this intersection is very interesting for Kazakhstan as well. Third step is the support of the small and medium enterprises. Again, I mean, if you want to transform a country, you need small and medium enterprises to be active in the driving forces of innovation and sustainability. Fourth, we are trying to consider innovation and sustainability as two faces of the same coin. I mean, the open innovation in Italy is very enforced, because open innovation is a better way probably to generate innovation because it's faster than the traditional R&D. So promoting open innovation means to promoting startups, to promoting a sort of bottom-up movement that improve and accelerate the innovation, also in the green industry.
Mr. Ambassador, I'd like to hear from you the experience of Italian SME development and also its possible lessons for emerging markets. As you've mentioned, SMEs make up the majority of the Italian economy. How has it been achieved? Why was it made possible, even historically? SMEs have been strong in Italy. And how can we transfer the same sense of entrepreneurship to Kazakhstan?
Yeah, Italy, I mean, the historical difference is that most of companies in Italy are of familiar origin, you know, family origin. So small and micro entrepreneurship. I told you that in Italy, 95% of the GDP is generated by small and medium companies. And 90% of these companies employ less than 10 people. So very, very small companies. But the strength of this system is that we have I mean, relied on a very scattered and diffused development, you know. So the employment has been very effective, particularly in the northern part of Italy, and that helped, I mean, a sort of a possibility to scale up economies and the possibility for companies to internationalize very effectively. And the second point of the Italian system is the district. You know, companies belonging to the same district permitted to the companies themselves to be more competitive, to improve the level of quality of the products because of competitiveness, the competition among them, and to scale up the production. What I think that we can do, I mean, to copy a system is always a very poor idea. You know, we are not here to propose something to be copied, but to be complemented. I mean, Kazakhstan has very strong and consolidated state-owned companies, but probably what we can offer is the idea to create supply chains of small and medium companies that help those big companies to be more competitive. And the idea is not to transfer, but to cooperate. And the first step is to create skilled people. I'm very convinced of this. I'm strongly convinced that without having skilled people, it's impossible to relaunch the economy in both digital or ecological transitions.
So how do we tackle that?
Inter-university cooperation is something very good. We are promoting 2 or 3 new agreements between Kazakh and Italian universities in order to complete to one another, to reinforce to one another, to put knowledge in common. That's a very key point, to be able to put knowledge in common, because, activism is very important, but our responsibility, scaling people, is to move from activism to action. And people act when they are skilled enough to manage the different situations.
Mr. Ambassador, a diplomat working inside a company, a public utilities company, is not an average resume, is not an average profile for a diplomat, and that's very outstanding. You have coined and have sort of pioneered the idea of innovation-driven diplomacy. What is it?
Innovation-driven diplomacy means that we strongly believe that innovation, together with sustainability, is a fundamental competitiveness factor. So if we want, as business diplomacy, to create value for our national system, we need to be able to promote innovation. Inside the career, how diplomacy is evolving, and outside the career, how diplomacy is generating and promoting innovation and innovative connections between different actors. I think that diplomacy is like a sort of system orchestrator. That's why I think that innovation is a boost of this new concept of diplomacy. And the second very interesting point is that over the last decades, we have experienced a sort of transformation of international relations. We were used to talk about geopolitics. Now we are talking about geoeconomics. So the importance of economics in the foreign policy is growing.
Mr. Ambassador, with this pandemic, but also the looming climate crisis, as countries are also looking inwards to solve some of the internal problems, we understand that the challenges are really global and would require collaboration on all levels. How will diplomacy play into that, and how important is it? And what are your ambitions and plans as an ambassador here in Kazakhstan?
Look, many said that diplomacy was dead. Yeah. It's completely the other way around. Diplomacy is particularly alive. The question is not if diplomacy is dead or alive, but what diplomacy we need. What diplomacy we need to face the new challenges, And that's the question I'm asking myself. And probably, I think that the more we go towards a collaborative system, the more diplomacy is necessary. And we have experienced it very, very, very clearly during the pandemic. Nobody can solve the problem alone. No company, no government, no city, global cities can solve the huge problems we have alone, acting alone. So the point is how to collaborate. Not if we have to, but how to collaborate. And diplomacy is the best channel to collaborate among states, but also among cities. One of my tasks, I tasked myself to promote a special relationship between Italian and Kazakh cities. Because I see that, I see that Kazakhstan is improving urbanization, and I believe that state-to-city diplomacy and city-to-city diplomacy is something very useful for two countries to be closer. That's one of my tasks. The second task is to attract more companies to act on 2 different channels. One is to promote Made in Italy. So Italian products, the Made in Italy has grown this year 17% compared to last year. Italy is back, So I want to increase the export and the import in Kazakhstan of Italian products, because I believe and I feel that Kazakh like Italian products. But there is a second channel, which is Made with Italy, which means to attract new companies to invest in the country, because I believe that we can offer something very interesting for Kazakhstan in terms of supply chains, particularly in the sectors that I have already mentioned. And made in Italy, Made with Italy are 2 main drivers, And city-to-city diplomacy is something very interesting, a task that I gave myself. And by 2023, to go back, to the pre-COVID level in terms of commercial exchange.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you.
Thank you very much.